But sis, love yourself enough to enforce consequences on a man who mishandles you. Love you enough to let a man suffer the fruits of his decision making should he improperly love you. Like, that means going into a relationship understanding that we're still in the evaluation phase. Now, if you get to marriage and you're saying, okay, I already know who this guy is, I've already checked all of these boxes, therefore I'm just going to take my hands off the wheel and just trust that he got my best interest at heart, I can understand. Not saying that you need to actually do that 100%, because as human beings, we can all change. But when you are still in the relationship phase, there's a reason why you haven't gotten to the marriage level yet, because there are some things that have not yet been evaluated. So you can't, it's because you're not at the highest level of commitment, there's no reason why you should be at the highest level of vulnerability. Like, love is not this thing you give to somebody and say, okay, now I just will not acknowledge my best interest at all. I'm just going to lose all awareness of my well-being. Love is a thing that you give to somebody, and if they do what it takes to earn it on a daily basis, you don't have to think first about your well-being, because they're doing it. They're protecting it. So you have to go in understanding first what love really is, especially in the relationship phase, which is something to be coupled with the evaluation that's still going on. And two, like I was telling the sister that watched my masterclass, the number one mistake loyal women make, because this is one of them, you have to go in with an emotional prenup. You ain't got to believe in a prenup for marriage. But in the relationship phase, which is still evaluating for marriage, for that forever happily ever after segment of life, you have to go in understanding this is what's going to happen if what needs to be done ain't done. This is what's going to happen if you ever abandon the principles that you promised. This is what's going to happen. And the consequences may vary. It may not necessarily be hopefully it's never you taking revenge or something like that. But if that man does enough to push you away, don't let him guilt trip you into thinking that you gave up on him whenever you finally leave. That's one of the consequences. You got to allow that man to suffer the consequences of mishandling you. And you see, when you let people suffer the consequences of mishandling, it hurts you. I know it does. And that's okay that it hurts you. You wanted things to work out. You love this man. To ever have to think twice about the person that you love is not easy. And this is why you have to have another love that's occupying your heart. And you always need that. But I'm saying, if you're loving the right person, those two things are never going to compete with each other. But should he ever try to put you in that position, the love that you have for yourself is going to cover you. You're going to be fine. What I've noticed is a lot of women, keeping it real, especially empaths, go into a relationship and they feel like once they choose that man that they're going to love, they no longer have to be the one to prioritize the love for themselves, because it's just going to take the place of it. No. You have to go in willing and ready to regularly enforce consequences. Who was it? Live when it messed up. Hopefully we back. I know it's kind of going in and out, so we're not going to be here long. But it's funny because I've been talking about this the last 6 months, and I saw another person talking about it recently. Men understand consequences in any other area of life. I'm at the gym right now. You know what? If I don't work out, I probably ain't going to be in the best shape I could be. I'm probably going to have some type of issues as I get older. If I don't pay the car note, I'm going to lose a car. You know what I'm saying? You don't pay your mortgage, guess what? The bank coming to get that. You know that. We know that. But for some reason, we have tried to gaslight women in a general sense. The masses have tried to gaslight women in believing that if you hold us to consequences, you're doing something wrong. And so you go in saying, I'm not going to go in, I'm just going to bet the house on this. I'm just going all chips, all in. The moment that I feel love for this man, I'm going to just go all in. And what you end up doing is, like I was telling the young lady that asked me the question, how did she handle a man that seemingly don't care about her feelings and needs and da-da-da-da? And she on her 50th time telling him that. And I'm like, the only thing you need to do is let him feel the consequences of playing in your face and ignoring you. But you go in gambling with your life savings. I know somebody going to be like, well, I ain't gambling. I evaluated him in the dating phase. The dating phase was how long? A month? 2 months? And you gave this man access to not just your heart, but your body, your mental health, your finances, everything to the fullest extent. And that's a hard concept to grasp, that you need to be loving somebody, but kind of, sort of. It's not that. It's what you couple with the love. Again, love for self and a prenup on an emotional level. You ain't got to believe in a prenup when it comes to marriage. Because I get it, you know what I'm saying? Y'all got different feelings about that. I got my feelings about that. But that makes sense. You get to the marriage level and you saying, okay, cool, all in, not thinking twice about it, nothing bad that can happen. I'm not here to tell you that. But when you're in the relationship phase, you need an emotional prenup. You need to have a set of standard procedure of how things go. Should that man stop honoring whatever commitment he made verbally? Y'all ain't even got to marriage yet. You get to that point, you feel like, oh, he can do no wrong. I don't care what he does. I'm going to stay no matter what. All right, cool. The no matter what is coming your way, sis. The no matter what is on the way. Because you went in gambling with your life savings. So, see, somebody just asked me, what do I mean by that? First off, I'm not talking in the literal sense. Gamble if you want. Don't gamble if you want. This ain't about that. But those who do gamble know that you cannot go in gambling with money you can't lose. You can't go in throwing and risking, basically, taking a very high risk with something you would not be okay with losing. And so when you go into just the relationship phase, which is right after the dating phase, where you only evaluated this man for a couple of weeks, not years, and you put your life savings on the line, meaning all of the heart, the mental health, the wellness, your kids, all of this stuff, you put that on the line, and you're still gambling. This is not an investment yet. Think of marriage like a proven investment. You're just putting money into something that has proven to be safe. And now you can bet more money. Now you can bet money that you can't lose because it's already proven. The structure is this, the highest level of belief has already been validated. That's one thing. You can't go into a relationship where you're still evaluating this man and put your whole life savings on the line. Here's everything I own and now I'm homeless. Exactly. And you know what? Again, this isn't to say that in a marriage situation, that's literally impossible. It is possible, but at least it makes more sense because you have evaluated, you've done that. And the thing with marriage is people change. So you always need to be holding this man accountable. But if we're not talking about that right now, the sister that asked me the question after my masterclass, the number one mistake loyal women make. Because in that masterclass, I talk about a few mistakes that loyal women make that end up resulting in a woman that's traumatized and all she tried to do was love a man and then she didn't even get half of that back. She talking about how to get something across to a man where her actions have already gotten across to him that he ain't got no consequences to face for playing. Let that man suffer his consequences. Stop saving him. But he cried whenever he said he was sorry. So what? He made you cry over and over and over and over and over again. But he seemed like he really sorry this time. He didn't seem like he was disrespectful. He 100% proved it over and over and over and over again. But this time I think he really gonna go talk to that lady, but he ain't had a conversation with her yet. As long as he can come to you, sell you some type of excuse, a sad story about how he grew up and his pet gerbil died and goldfish ran away in the middle of the night, you gonna buy it and go right back to whatever you was doing that made him comfortable playing in your face to begin with. Again, some of y'all ain't gonna keep it real, and that's fine. But to whoever this applies to, and you know it applies to you, you need to enforce an emotional prenup. Don't think marriage, if you don't like marriage prenups, that's fine. But until that man has taken the highest level of commitment he could possibly take, you absolutely need to go in understanding, okay, if he is making me feel unsafe or insecure, if he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing, if he's not reassuring me, if he's not prioritizing this or investing the amount of energy and effort that I need in order to exist in a safe way in this relationship, then I must do X, Y, or Z. And whatever that is, not to correct him, not to teach him a lesson, but because you have now learned yours. It may be withdrawing. It may be requiring that before y'all go any further in that relationship, some things need to change. Maybe you need to identify what is it that keeps you vulnerable to this man and cut that off until he requalifies himself. He may need to refinance. He needs to go back in and fill the application out all over again. There may be a certain amount of access that you need to repossess until he requalifies himself. I know this sounds, and this is what she was telling me, D, I don't want to be tit for tat. So you just keep suffering the tat after tat after tat? It's not tit for tat. It's cause and effect, sis. You can sit here and try to impose this whole, oh, it don't matter what he does. But guess what? Your heart is not in the same denial that you are. Your heart is not going to participate in that delusion that it don't matter what he does. I'm going to always be here for him. But it does matter what he does, whether or not your heart can always beat for him or you. It does matter. Well, I mean, love shouldn't be done. You keep operating in the should and should not. Guess what is actually happening? He is deteriorating you. He is changing you from the inside out. He is breaking you spiritually, mentally, emotionally. Stop me when I start lying. Stop me when I start lying. When you with a man, you gotta love yourself enough to enforce those consequences of mishandling you. And it's not that, if he need that, then maybe he don't love you. No. It's just that love is never enough. He can love you. He can love you. He can honestly love you. And guess what? It don't matter if it don't come with the loyalty. He can love you. It don't matter if it don't come with the respect. It don't matter if it don't come with the protection. But if he really loved me, no, stop thinking like you. Sister, women, y'all love as a package deal. When you truly love a man, tunnel vision, 100% respect, 100% care, consideration, empathy. That's how women love. It's a full package. Men are much more compartmental. We are different by design, but biologically, mentally, the whole nine. So when a man loves, you got to be the one to make sure the full package is also going to be included. Otherwise, it might just be love, and a love that ain't worth receiving from him. Again, going in without an emotional prenup, especially in the dating and relationship phase, because honestly, I think the exact same thing should happen in a marriage, but that's a whole different conversation. But that's one of the many mistakes that loyal women make that result in a ton of trauma and oftentimes an inability to love anybody else, including themselves. Now, there's one mistake more than any other that loyal women make, but that's a lot to kind of break down. If you want my conversation on that, I broke it down 100% in the masterclass, the number one mistake loyal women make. I put it right here. It's free, by the way. So if you want that conversation, the number one mistake, because there's a few levels to that. The number one mistake loyal women make that ends up getting a lot of y'all hurt. That masterclass is down pinned in the comments. Do get access to that one. That's my newest one. You have not watched that, more than likely. That's my newest masterclass. The number one mistake loyal women make is also in the caption. But moral of the story is this, sis. I'm not saying you need to go in constantly afraid to let somebody in or constantly paranoid. No. But even the Bible says, guard your heart. Above all else, guard your heart. That doesn't mean that you're not lovable or able to love anybody. That means that heart of yours is so precious. So you can't qualify somebody in terms of receiving it and just leave it at that. Even after qualifying them, if they're truly qualified to hold your heart, whatever it takes for you to guard it against harm should never stop them from getting to it if they don't have intentions to harm you. Go in, guard your heart, and should somebody want to play with you, love yourself enough to enforce those consequences. You'll be glad you did and regret if you didn't. But those are just my thoughts. I'm your internet big bro. I got you back at all times, sis. Hopefully something I said was helpful, but look, if something I said resonated with you, keep your money. All I ask is that you pay it forward by hitting the share button. If there's anything that I said in this conversation that you feel like was facts, hit the share button right now so somebody else in your timeline can also get this truth. And if you want more like this for free, I put the link down here. It's going to bless you. The number one mistake loyal women make and how to avoid it. Because I don't just present problems, I present solutions. And it's free, by the way.